You could say no. Okay. Moving on. We're still factoring. It's just going to get a little bit harder. So, we're factoring trinomials. What's a trinomial? 3 terms. It is a polynomial, right? But it's a polynomial of 3 terms. We have to develop some quick little skills before we can actually factor trinomials. So, you have to find numbers that add to be 12 and multiply to be 20. An example would be 2 and 10. So what are 2 numbers that add to be 9 and multiply to be 20? 4 and 5. 4 plus 5 is 9, and 4 times 5 is 20.
Yes. That's crazy.
So you have to find 2 numbers that add to be this column and multiply to be that column. So let's try again. 2 things that add to be 4 and multiply to be 4.
Wait, so if you find out the first column, you automatically have the second?
No, because 3 and 1 also add to be 4, but it doesn't multiply to be 4. So what are things that add to be negative 9 and multiply to be 18?
That's annoying.
Negative 3 and negative 3.
Negative 3 and negative 3 would multiply to be positive 9. Negative 3 and negative 6. Because negative 3 minus 3, sorry, negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. And the negatives cancel each other in multiplication to give you positive 18. So negative 3, negative 6. Factoring trinomials relies solely on being able to do this. What are 2 things that add to be negative 15 and multiply to be positive 14? This one's a little tricky. You got it, Al? What is it? Negative 14 and negative 1. No, not try hard. She's smart. Negative 1 and negative 14. They add to give you negative 15. They multiply to be a positive. 2 numbers that add to be negative 1 and multiply to be negative 6.
2 and negative
2 and negative 3. So, you should find a little trend. If you're trying to add 2 things together to get a negative, but multiply to get a positive, your answer is going to be 2 negatives. It's the only way you're going to get that positive multiplication. 2 things that add to be 12 and multiply to be negative 15.
5 and negative 3. Oh, never mind.
5 and negative 3.
Sure.
3. Yeah. 5, negative 3. And things that add to be negative 26, multiply to 48.
Negative 24 and negative 2.
Negative 24, negative 2. Pretty simple. Just kind of messing around with numbers a little bit. Okay, let's move on to actually factoring trinomials. So to factor a trinomial, there's a lot of different methods, but we're going to use called the diamond method. So you're going to draw a diamond. On the top of the diamond, you're going to write A times C. What's A? A is right here. B is right here. C is right there. Yes, ma'am.
Is this like the same as what we were just doing, or like the same?
It's still factored, so it's still taking things out, yeah. Pick up, ladies, we're almost done the lesson. Yeah, it's been a long time. So, what's A times C?
Square.
Just the numbers. So, when we write out
What?
Josh, question. You see, yeah. That's the form that our trinomials are going to generally be in for today. Meaning the coefficient in front of your x squared is a. The coefficient in front of your x is b. The coefficient at the end, your constant, is c. So when we do a times c, we just do 1 times 2, which is just 2. Just do the numbers, not the x's. And then on the bottom of the diamond, you put your b value. What's your b value? 3. Perfect. The sides of the diamonds. Those are the two numbers that you have to try to find. You need to find things that multiply to be 2 and add to be 3. 2 times 1. And those go on your side.
So the B chose gets added.
Yeah, so it's always that way. So you're always trying to add to get to B, and you're always multiplying to get your AC. Yes, I think.
Okay, what if there's like a number for A? Would you like add the two numbers at the top, like A and C, or would you just put them?
So for today, we're only going to ever look at where A is equal to 1, but in the future, you'll see other numbers. So it'll be like 2, 4, and we'll deal with that in the future. Okay, now we're going to do one step further. We're going to fully on factor them. The first step is to solve your diamond. What goes on top of the diamond? A times C. And what is A times C? It's just 1. So pretend there's a 1 there. It's 1 times 12. So on the top is, and what's the bottom of the diamond equal to? 8. Now you have to find numbers that multiply to be what? 12 and add to be 8. What numbers multiply to be 12 and add to be 8, Leon? 2 and 6. So, when you're factoring trinomials, the first step, make your diamond. Second step, you have to rewrite this equation. You're going to put x squared, and you're going to put plus 2x plus 8x, sorry, not 8x, 6x, plus 6x plus 12. So, the x squared and the 12 stay the same. The 2 and the 6x are new, right? It's like you're splitting. It's like you split this 8 into 2 and 6. And we got our numbers 2 and 6 from the sides of the diamond. Wait, so what? You still leave the 12 as a constant? It's kind of how the system works. But yeah, you leave it as 12. You'll see why at the end. Now we have 4 terms, and now it looks just like yesterday. How do you factor these things? Josh? You did a draw here, yeah. Your line down the middle. Now it's the same thing as yesterday. So what do you factor out of this first half? What are you left with? Okay, and what do you factor out of the next side?
2.
You can factor 2 out, but that's not the largest thing you can factor out.
This many.
Yeah, that many. And what are you left with? X plus 2. And that's why you don't break up that 12. You want to leave that 12 so that you can break it apart there. Remember,
Is that why we did the 4 one first?
that's why we did the other one first. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. I'll show you the. After. The diamond is like the most popular, easiest way. The other way I know is to just know that you multiply by this and have to do that. So you don't have to do the actual picture. But it's the same thing, just without the picture of that. Matthew, your question?
Same thing as before, it's just that I have to.
Yeah, except now you just got a couple pre-steps to get to this point. So now what are we left with? What can we factor out of this and this? You got it. X plus 2 comes out. You're left with x plus 6. Now you factored a trinomial into two binomials. No matter where you guys go in math from this point forward, you're going to need to know how to do that. So every level of math after Math 10 does factor. And it won't be reviewed. You'll get like a day on it. We spend about a week on it. So you need to nail this stuff this year so that next year it's no problem for you. What do you put on the top of your diamond for question B? 12. A is equal to 1. We multiply it by C, which is 12. What do we put on the bottom of the diamond? Things that multiply to be 12 and add to be 13. 12 and 1. Now you rewrite your equation. I've broken that middle piece into 2. Now I have 4 terms in Matthew. It's just like yesterday, right? Now it's easy. Draw your dotted line down the middle. Yep. Yep, it's already in descending order. Draw your line down the middle, factor what you can. This first one, what do you factor out? X. And you're left with? What do you factor out of the next one, Joe? 1.
So like,
Go ahead.
do you usually know it's right? Say like the first one puts x plus 2 in both, and then you do the
Yeah.
So usually it goes like that, and then you do the next step.
Yeah. It has to be the same. Yeah. So when you factor a 1 out here, you're left with x plus 12. We factored out a 1 because we couldn't factor anything else out. But we wanted brackets that were the same. Now you're left with x plus 1 and x plus 12. Yes, Matthew?
Will we ever run into like a part in like this thing where it'll like tell you what x equals?
So now if I told you verify if x is equal to 2, yeah. So you'd have to put 2 in here and 2 up there. Yes, sir.
Can it be x plus 12 versus x plus 1 or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The way I look at it is, what's 2 times 3? 6. What's 3 times 2? 6. Order doesn't matter in multiplication. So we could flip that to the front and you're still right. As long as that's one of your binomials and that's another one of your binomials. Next one. What goes on the top of the diamond? What goes on the bottom?
Equals 21.
You want things that multiply to be what number? Multiply to be 10, add to be negative 11.
Oh,
Negative 11. What multiplies to be 10 and adds to be negative 11? Josh. Oh, yeah. Negative 10 and negative 1. Yeah. Rewrite it, divide it out. It's the same steps over and over. A squared minus 10a and minus 1a plus 10. Now we've run into a little bit of our problem that we've seen before. So if you draw, it's ready. So messy. If you write your little dotted line down the middle.
is that negative 1?
Yeah, you're right. It's negative 1a. Now the minus q.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's super messy. It's a squared minus 10a minus a plus 10.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think that's worse.
It's worse. It's way better. Still brutal. What do you factor out of that first one?
A.
An a, and you're left with 1 minus, or a minus 10. What do you factor into the next one? Negative a. Can you take a negative a out? Nope, there's no a in this 10. 1, but then we're left with a plus 10. On the other side, we have a minus 10. Negative 1, yeah. You have to take out a negative 1. So then your final answer should be a minus 1 multiplied by a minus 10. Should be your final answer. Try D really quick on your own. You should be able to do these about 2 minutes.
I'm lost.
Follow the steps.
Where's my A and C? Oh.
A times C goes on the top of the diamond. What goes on the bottom of the diamond? B, yeah. Figure out what multiplies to give you the top of the diamond and adds to the bottom of the diamond. Just work through as far as you can. Try your best. Try and problem solve. Try to look back at other examples. Has anybody found things that multiply to b4 and add to b3? What?
On one side is 2, and then on the other side is
Does that multiply to b4?
Oh,
Nope, can't do it. It's impossible. So you should have 4 there and 3 on there. So if you can't do it, then you can't factor it. Just wait. Listen to Eric, please.
I got it. Okay, 4 plus 1 would be 3, and then 4.
It'd be negative 4. Pardon? 1 and 3? 1 and 3 don't multiply to be 4.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, guys. If you can't do it, then you don't have to factor it. So you would put can't factor it. You guys are going to run into those on tests. They are going to give you one that you can't factor. Don't try decimals. Don't try anything. Yes, Leo.
We got this on this job last year that if you don't put not factor exactly, you can come right here on. If you put anything else, if you put not applicable, can't do it, impossible, they'll mark it wrong. So,
Okay.
put not factor.
Put not factorable. I probably won't be such a stickler for that, but yeah, Josh.
I nearly failed the test once in summer school when I did this course. I nearly failed because I didn't put off back. So it is just stuff.
Go ahead, Joey. Windows back, yeah. Okay, we're almost done. Now, Matthew. Hey. Now we're taking it one step further. So now we're going to combine every one of our factoring lessons. if this number, and that number all share a common factor, take it out. So what's the greatest common factor of all three of those? 2 is a factor of all of them, but what's the greatest common factor, Boris? 4. So you take a 4 out, and you're left with x squared. This is what you're going to have to be able to do. I know it's confusing, but you got to start from the very beginning. It even tells you, factor the following by removing the common factor first. So this is being real nice to you. You're going to have to identify these things on your own. Because if you answer this without taking out the greatest common factor, you're going to get a different answer. And then I'm going to write, keep going, keep factoring. Because you're not done. You have to take out a 4. Now do the inside. What's your A times C? What's your B? Take some multiply to B12 and add to the 8. A to 8. Negative 6, negative 2. They multiply to be the top of the diamond, add to be the bottom. Negative 6 and negative 2. The 4 that you factored out at the beginning, it's still there, and it's still there all the way through to the very final answer. So it can't disappear. X squared minus 6x minus 2x plus 12. And now we do our second lesson on factoring. Take out a common factor from in between the dot and line. The 4, still there. What do we take out of the first chunk? Just x. What do we take out of the second chunk?
2.
Close, yeah. If we took out 2, we'd be left with x plus 6. But we want to be left with x minus 6. Negative 2. Negative 2 leaves you with x minus 6.
That'd be like on the test,
This would be 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Your final step, you factor out that x minus 6. So it's x minus 6 times x minus 2. And that is how your final answer should look. A monomial times a binomial times a binomial. Yes, Matthew?
What happened to that other x?
Which x?
The one that was
That one? It's with the x minus 2. Because we took that and that out to go here, and we were left with x minus 2. Oh.
Yeah.
So like this?
Yeah.
It's still just multiplication, right? So all the brackets would be doing is saying multiply the 4 into the front of it.
If you had to big brackets, it would say add the 4 to both sides.
So what do brackets tell us? It tells us to do the stuff inside the brackets first, right? So if we had like that, the big brackets tell us to do 3 times 4 first, which would be 4 to 12 times 2, which is 24. Now if you didn't have the big brackets, and it was 2 times 3 is 6, times 4, 24. Still the same thing. So the big brackets can go away because they're irrelevant. It's not wrong. So if you had the big brackets, you're actually right still. I got rid of them because they're just irrelevant anymore. They don't mean anything anymore. Does that make sense, Ella? Okay. Next question, the very last one. What do we factor out? So I think a great column factor out.
3.
Yep, what are you left with? Oh, yeah. We don't take a 3 out. Somebody said it. You take a 3x out. You can't take x cubed. Just a 3x. Why did we take an x out? Yeah, because they all have x's. Very lesson. That left you with 3. These is x squared. So I took out an x. So the x cubed became x squared. The x squared became x to the power 1. And that x to the power 1 went away.
Radical.
Right.
You look at
Sure. Okay. What do you put at the top of the diamond? 10. What do you put on the bottom? What do things that multiply to be 10 and add to be 7? 2 and 5. If it's 5 and 2, that's good. If it's 5 and 2, same thing. It'll give you same answer, just in a different way. So you can flip it if you wanted. 3x, still up front. Put your dotted line down the middle. Factor out x out of this first one, it makes it x plus 5. Factor out 2 out of this next one. Keep up. I believe in you. So, on the first side of the dotted line, I factored out an x. On the second side, I factored out a 2. You have to get that, right, Liam? And what can I factor out one more time?
The x plus 5.
The x plus 5. And that'll leave you with your final answer. This is something that I promise you will look so easy as we do it together step by step. But I promise you it's very, very difficult and just keeps getting harder. That's why we spent so long on it. And then next year it just goes up to another level. No matter what math you take.
No, next year,
Next semester. No matter which level you take, you're going to need this and it's going to have to be automatic. You guys have